In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Dougherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to In the Lab. This is one of my favorite In the Labs of the entire year that we do. And I think we've done it, I know we've done it once. We might have done it twice. But anyways, my name's Drew Dougherty. That's John Harris. And today on In the Lab, John, we're making the Texans a better football team.
Oh, okay.
And we're doing so by drafting players from the past
Okay.
out of the current selection. So, like, the Texans have the third overall pick. So we've got
Andre Johnson.
all the all-time third overall picks, and we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Because there
But
might be
that's
some,
the way we're thinking.
exactly. So
Okay.
there might be some reasons to change your mind about that.
Okay.
But all of the third-round picks in the history, or third overall picks in the history of the draft, starting in 1936 in that case, because some of the years are a little different, are at our disposal. So there's 11 selections total. I'm going to write them down, and we're not going to get too exhaustive on this. We could spend an entire podcast on every single one of these picks, but we're not.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Reader's Digest version.
Okay.
And we're going to get going. So with the third overall pick, John,
Okay.
You
There's
could.
some good options here.
the Texans, they've had it once. They had Andre Johnson in 2003. Say no more. I mean, he's a Hall
We're
of
not
Famer
going
in
any
my
further.
book. He's a Hall of Famer in my book.
Okay.
Now, you've had some people who have changed the game at their positions respectively, also chosen. So
Yes.
12 who've been chosen third overall wound up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right.
Our good pal, Tyler Marcotte, he's Detroit Lions fan,
Yes.
numero uno growing up. Now he loves the Texans. But when he was a little guy, he had his Detroit Lions PJs. He went to
Yep.
sleep under his Detroit Lions bed sheets at night. Bobby Lane, maybe the greatest Detroit Lion ever. Oh, or is he?
Ooh, I was thinking of a different one.
Because there's another third overall pick by the Detroit Lions. Doak Walker, who you could say is maybe the great. Oh, no. Barry Sanders was also a third overall pick. But Doak Walker was a third overall pick, too.
all three of those pretty good.
Two of them were Heisman
good.
winners. Two of them, Lane and Walker, played in the same backfield in high school. How about that? You got the greatest Texas quarterback, not named Vince Young, and then you got Doak Walker, who's the greatest SMU football player.
It's kind of like Clayton Kershaw and Matt Stafford were high school teammates.
Exactly like that.
Something like that.
Also taken at third overall, Y.A. Tittle, Hall of Famer from LSU. He's a quarterback, played in the league for a long time in the 60s. Ollie Matson,
Oh, yeah.
a guy named Johnny Robinson, who was an LSU
Chiefs safety.
Yeah, he had like nearly 60 interceptions
All
in his
AFL
career.
team.
He was
All
amazing.
AFL decade. All decade AFL team is what I should say.
As
he was great.
as a child of the 80s like you, I know Merlin Olsen from the Dick Enberg-Merlin Olsen tandem on NBC. But he was
Little House on the Prairie, too, was that a different show?
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was a phenomenal defensive tackle for the Rams for a long time.
He was 3 overall.
Yep. So was Charlie Taylor, a wide receiver for Washington. Dick Butkus. I mean, some people associate the linebacker position with Dick Butkus.
Yes, they do.
You had a dog named Butkus.
I did have a dog named Butkus, named after Dick Butkus.
Yes. Claude Humphrey, maybe the most underrated defensive lineman of all time. He was a sack master for the Falcons for about 14 years. Another guy who you could say is the best left tackle ever. Best offensive lineman ever. Anthony Munoz.
Oh, good one.
Third overall. Barry Sanders, and then
I
Cortez
thought
Kennedy.
Munoz was at 2. That's why. Okay.
He was third overall.
Third overall.
So you've got those guys. Those are 12 who are in the Hall of Fame. You've also got Dre, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame
Yes.
same day. The year after Dre was picked, Larry Fitzgerald, picked by the Cardinals.
Wow.
That's pretty good. Joe Thomas, Pro Bowler just about every
He'll be
single
a Hall
year,
of
but
Famer.
his last. And then Matt Ryan and Joey Bosa, two excellent picks.
Yes.
This is a Houston Texans podcast. We love the Houston Texans. Andre Johnson is the chalk. The only guy I think I would consider bumping for him would be Munoz, just because of how amazing he would be. But do we want to
I
do
would
that?
consider Barry Sanders,
Of course you'd, yeah.
but yeah, it's a Texas podcast.
We're going to stick with Dre.
Yeah,
So
with Dre.
Texans go to the podium, and they take Dre first overall. My Sharpie does not work. So
Here you go. I got a pencil
You got a
right
pencil?
over here as I
I like
get
pencils.
the screen. There you go.
Yeah.
Pencil, sharpened, everything.
lo-fi. So Dre is our first pick.
Dre's first pick. All right, pick
Now,
number 13.
Gets interesting here. We go
Okay.
on to 13, like you say.
I know who I'm putting at 13.
Do you, though?
I do,
All right.
without a doubt.
Because
I know who it is.
long time
If I
ago,
remember, I think he's 13.
yeah, there's been some greats who've been picked there.
Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez at tight end. Nobody played in more games or started more games than
Good.
he. 6-time All-Pro. Dude, Bob Lilly is Mr. Cowboy. First great Dallas Cowboy, first guy to go in the Hall of Fame. An absolute terror on the interior of the defensive line.
Not taking Cowboy. Not doing it.
You're also an Oilers fan from way back. You're not going to take Franco Harris, even though that guy, until I did this exercise, I've written a series of articles, I didn't realize how great that guy was. I knew he was a Hall of Famer and all that stuff, but 1,000 yards every single year until like the very end of his career, into his 30s. He bucked the once you turn 30, you go off a cliff trend. Tight end Kellen Winslow, another game changer, position changer. Senior, yes. Senior. Thank you for that distinction. A guy named Ace Parker, he was drafted by the Brooklyn Dodgers, in football.
Yeah.
There was a Brooklyn Dodgers. He played everything. World War II took him out for 4 seasons, but he came back after the war. He went into the Hall of Fame in 1972.
Yep.
So I'm not going to put him in, though.
Okay.
But the guy I'm leaning towards, and the guy I think you are as well, was a guy who you and I stood next to each other on the field post-practice Senior Bowl 2014, and we were just about eye level with this guy.
Yep.
But we walked away from the interview thinking, I like that. I like the cut of his jib, the way he was dealing with the media, and you liked what he'd done in college, and we've loved what he's done since. But he's one of the most ferocious defensive players in the history of the NFL. He's still playing, just won a Super Bowl ring. Aaron Donald.
That was the one.
I mean,
that was the one. I mean, all those others, great names, but Aaron Donald's the best. I mean, I don't know how you encapsulate what that guy has been able to do. And like you said, we were down there in the field. I saw him in the Renaissance Hotel that week. He happened to be in front of me, probably about 5-6 feet in front of me. And he just all of a sudden stopped and realized something, either he was going the wrong direction or that he needed something. He turned around. As he turned around, I'm looking eye to eye.
Yeah. He's not enormous.
Whoa. And my favorite story still from a Senior Bowl was I was standing there talking to an FBS coach, very popular one that I got to know, and we were watching his guys, and I said, hey, coach, tell me about your guys. Oh, he's talking about this guy, and there was an offensive lineman. He pointed at the offensive lineman. He said, that guy right there is going to be a first-round pick, and I'm telling you, a pick got out of his mouth. He's going against Donald, and Donald just tortured him. And did it to everybody through the week. And I remember thinking, man, if that guy's a first-round pick, then how good is that guy? Well, that guy wasn't a first-round pick, but Donald was that guy.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, when you said 13, it was like, I know this one. We've
Pretty
gone
easy.
on for a few minutes about it, but we could have done that in 10 seconds because we both knew it was Donald.
So that's the second pick that the Texans had. It's courtesy of the Browns from that trade last March, about a month ago. 37th overall pick is in the second round. Okay. And this is where it's interesting. Like, the numbers go down as far as, almost all but 4 guys drafted 3rd overall played a game in the NFL.
Yes.
But now you start dropping off. I mean, not everybody even makes it.
Yeah.
Because you go back, there was the war. There was other stuff going on. Back in the early days of the NFL, for some guys, it made more sense to just go get a job.
Yeah.
You'd make more money.
You made more money.
Yeah. So that happened for a lot of guys. Now, in the second round, at 37th overall, there's a Hall of Famer, and there's only one guy chosen 37th. He's a quarterback named Norm Van Brocklin out of Oregon. So he played for the Rams.
Yep.
He was drafted in 49, and it was a different game back then.
And he won a championship in 60 with the Eagles.
Yeah, and he won one before that with the Rams. But he was pretty good.
I was about to say something about Norm Van Brocklin, but I caught myself because, again, this is a Texans podcast.
Yes.
But Norm Van Brocklin won that championship in 1960, and the very next year, the Minnesota Vikings were an expansion team.
Yeah.
And guess who coached that team? And coached Fran Tarkington.
Who?
Norm Van Brocklin.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, crazy.
Okay, but here's where it gets interesting.
Okay, all right, we're not going to do Norm Van Brocklin. We've got to hear some options.
Randall Cunningham.
Oh, boy.
He's picked 37th overall.
Nine-time
Nine-time Pro Bowler. Okay.
I'm troubled.
Also 37th, Eric Weddle, a safety.
Hey, Eric Weddle.
Pretty good.
That's cool.
Another 37th overall pick, Darren Woodson. Won 3 Super Bowl rings. He's really good.
That's actually solid at 37.
And, of course, we can't have any list without this guy. Sean Cody, nose tackle.
Oh, 37.
Chosen by Marcotte's Lions, but
Lions, yeah.
he came here and was famous.
Maximize his potential here in Houston.
We would. We love him, but we're not taking you 37th overall, Sean Cody. I think for
that's
me,
your buddy
it's
Drew saying that. I would have taken you, Cody, but that's Sean. That's Drew saying that.
He would not have. Now, for me, it's coming down to Weddle and Cunningham. Now, Davis Mills is the quarterback.
Yeah.
But, you want to make sure you got some competition. Or
Randall Cunningham went to 9 Pro Bowls.
He went to 9 Pro Bowls.
I would have never guessed that number.
Yeah.
Never. But when you think about Randall Cunningham, obviously with the Eagles, he was so good. But also, the 1 year he had with the Vikings in 1998, he wasn't even supposed to be the starter. That was Brad Johnson. And
he had
Johnson
a couple great years
hurt.
with them.
Yeah, Johnson gets hurt. Randall steps in, ends up being the guy for a while, going to a few Pro Bowls that way. So I would lean Eric Weddle.
Yeah.
Because I'm a former safety and I love Weddle's game. And I think safety would be a spot the Texans would look at in this draft anyways. But I love Randall Cunningham, man. That's a hard one. And in a pinch, and this might put me over the edge.
You can punt.
Randall Cunningham can punt.
Let's do it. This is no disrespect to.
Let's go Randall Cunningham.
Yeah, this is no disrespect to Davis, but it's Randall freaking Cunningham.
Yeah.
Children of the '80s, you played Tecmo Bowl 2. You
Randall
saw
Cunningham,
Randall Cunningham. So
write that down.
We got him in. Okay.
RC12. All right.
Now we move on to 68th.
Okay.
That's the Texans' first third rounder. They have two. Second one comes at 80th. That's from the Saints via the Bradley Roby trade.
That's correct.
Keeps getting interesting here. No Hall of Famers, but you got one of Lovie Smith's most favorite players ever. And it's a position, just about every position you can upgrade. Not there. That is one of his favorites.
Oh.
Lance Briggs.
Oh, Briggs.
7 Pro Bowls. Bears took him out of Arizona back in the day.
Yeah.
He was really, really good. Picked off 16 passes in his career. Yeah. Think about that. Who leads the Texans all time in interceptions?
J-Joe.
19. So he only had 3 less than J-Joe.
J-Joe had 19?
Yeah.
Did Kareem have 19 also?
I think he had 18.
18, yeah. I thought J-Joe.
I think J-Joe broke the tie by 1. So you got Lance Briggs. Tom Tupa, he started a lot of games at punter, but you already got your punter with Cunningham.
Yeah.
Jake Reed was somebody that he caught a lot of passes for the Vikings. But, Texans have taken 2 at this spot. Justin Reed, most recently in 2018, and then DeVere Posey
68, yeah.
At 20 in 2012.
Gotcha.
So those guys are there. But I think it's kind of clear here. You take Lance Briggs. You're going to beef up the defense, right?
Yeah, I think Briggs fits for a number of reasons. He knows the defense, and the pass coverage skills of those linebackers, Briggs and Urlacher. For a long time, Urlacher there were so many different things written about Urlacher. Oh, he's the most overrated guy in the league. I never really saw that, but I think his value wasn't always as just a run stuffer, because you think of linebacker, how he stopped the run. But Urlacher and Briggs were so good in pass coverage, I think that really changed. I don't know if change is the right word. They were on the same scheme, but I think it just gave the Bears such a fortified back end. You had Peanut Tillman, you had Mike Brown, and then you had those 2 linebackers. So you had the guys in the back and you had the guys in the front. It worked very, very well. So Lance Briggs stepping in, I think would be very nice at number 68.
Here's an interesting one, 80th overall. So it's your second, third rounder. It's from the Saints, like we mentioned. 2 people have gone on to the Hall of Fame. Green Bay Packer Jim Ringo.
Yeah, center. Yep.
Man, he was really good. So beginning in 1955 and going through his final season in 67, he started every single game for 13 straight years.
Yep.
His final 4 were in Philadelphia. He got a pair of rings with the Packers, 61 and 62. He went to 10 Pro Bowls, All-Pro, 6 times. Jim Ringo, really, really good. But the other guy who's a Hall of Famer, Art Shell.
Oh.
Oakland left tackle. Drafted in 68, started 1 game those first 2 NFL seasons, but in 70, every game through 78. Played 15 years.
God, he was so good.
Pair of Super Bowl titles, 8 Pro Bowls. He's also smart. He went on to be their head coach. And he took him to the playoffs 3 times in 6 seasons.
Gene Upshaw next to Art Shell. They played so long next to one another. Upshaw at guard, Shell at tackle, that they would sit at dinner, they would sit on the plane, they would always sit with Upshaw on the right side and Shell on the left side like they were playing a game.
Yep.
Everywhere they went. They were that wired in to one another. And that would help me with us because I'm deaf in my right ear. So if we always sat like this, I could always hear you. So I always try to sit like this next to you so I can hear you. So it's a different reason. Our good friend Ted Johnson was deaf in his other ear. So we always sat like this.
Right.
So we could hear one another. Art Shell would be interesting because, all right, you got Larry Tunsil.
Yeah.
We think that Titus Howard is probably going to go. I bring up that story because which left tackle moves? Is it Shell or is it Tunsil And then you take Titus and move him into guard at that point, I would imagine, so that you can maximize everybody in the front. It's something we talked about a lot with this draft. If you draft Neal or Ekwonu, keeping it to the present day, what do you do? Do you move Titus or do you move Neal? Ekwonu, how do you go about doing that? I think the hardest thing in this one is, do you move Laramie because Archell is so good? That's a tough one. Is that where we're going on this? I mean, that's hard not to.
You could just go with Ringo.
Could.
All-pro center.
You could.
And you leave those two guys alone.
But I think I'd rather add. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could bump Justin over to guard. You could do that, which I wouldn't be all that opposed to. But I think Archell is overall the better player.
Cool,
even though I grew up a Packers fan, knew all about Jim Ringo. I'm going to go Archell here, and then I'll just get them all in the building.
Sort it all out.
And figure out where Archell's going to sit. Is he going to sit on that side or this side?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on 107.
Okay.
We're on to the fourth round.
Okay.
This is one of the picks you got from Cleveland. So you got the first rounder, obviously. We've already used that one. This is another Cleveland pick. And at 107 overall, kind of weird. Check it out. There was a 9-time Pro Bowler named Walt Sweeney. He was a guard, offensive lineman.
Buffalo, correct?
Syracuse. He was Cleveland's 8th-round selection in 63. Never suited up for the Browns because the Chargers chose him in the first round of that draft.
Yeah.
He was a Pro Bowler every year, 64 through 72. Chargers won an AFL title. He played 13 seasons in the NFL, so 167 games. So Walt Sweeney was kind of the best of that. Bears had a defensive back named Allen Ellis. He picked off 22 passes in his career. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's good.
Yeah.
49ers had an offensive lineman named Ted Conley, 9th round of the 54 draft, started 62 games. But I think it's kind of easy. It's the best player available at this point, right?
Yep.
You want to go with Walt Sweeney and add an interior defending?
Yeah. That would help the interior, so let's do it.
Because you can figure something out there.
We bolstered this offensive line today.
Yeah.
We could have done even more with Munoz, but we got Dre, so we're good.
That's why we're
very next pick, 108.
Strategic about this at 108. It's the next pick on that one. And how about this? We've got to keep going defensive line or offensive line. You got Jari Evans was the first guy there. Because listen, nobody played more games, started more games, or went to more Pro Bowls than Evans. So he was the best of the 90 at 108th overall. He was picked by the Saints in 2006 out of Bloomsburg in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Started every game at right guard as a rookie and did so for the next 6 seasons. He helped New Orleans to the NFC title game in 06 as a rookie.
Yep.
Won the Super Bowl ring in 09. Through 09 through 12, he was a first-team All-Pro. So you want to? We got to keep beefing up if you're going to take the best player available.
Yeah. What are their options? Were there any
He had
other
Bernie
options?
Parrish in 1958. He had played 8 seasons for the Browns. Picked off 31 passes as a corner. That's good.
Yep.
And then you had a guy who played center for the Bucks for a long time and started a lot of games in the 90s. Tony Mayberry.
Yeah.
But you got
it's Jari
Evans. So we're sticking with offensive line. Jari Evans is really.
How many offensive linemen do we have?
So we've taken offensive
Donald,
3 straight.
Cunningham, Briggs, last 3 picks. Okay.
Yeah, but they're all good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. We get Hall of Famers. You're going to get Hall of Famers with picks 80, 107, and 108. Like, sign me up.
Hey,
I don't care.
so with all this offensive line help, why not get a good running back? You cool with that?
Of course.
And since we love the 80s.
What are we at now? Because there's a gap between 108 and 182.
183. So there's a big
Okay.
gap.
Okay.
Vincent Edward Jackson. Who?
Oh.
Bo Jackson.
Bo
That's
knows.
who.
Yeah. Oh, this
He
is
was
a slam
picked.
dunk.
He was picked by the Raiders at 183 overall. Now you got to remember the year before in '86 he was the first pick of the Buccaneers. Said no thanks. I'm going to go play baseball. Went to the Memphis and then the Royals called him up from AAA. So he played for the Royals, but the Raiders get him the next year. I mean, he's pretty much the easy choice. 85 Heisman winner. Weird hip injury derailed his career, but he averaged 5 yards a carry in his career.
Think about this for a second as it pertains to Bo Jackson. That was 1986.
5.4 yards career carry.
Kyla Murray was a first-round pick in baseball. He was also the number 1 overall pick in football. What Bo Jackson did, akin to that would be if Kyler Murray told the Cardinals, nah,
Yeah.
drafted me first overall, nope, I'm going to go play baseball. And that was a fear. That was a fear that the Cardinals, that could happen at some point. Maybe it still happens. Who knows? But Murray was taken, I think, 8th or 9th overall by the Oakland Athletics. So there is, some fear with that. But the NFL wasn't quite the monster it is now it's not the monster it is now that it was back in 85 or 86. Not quite. Baseball had a much higher Q rating, if you will. There was not this gap in between the two. I think Kyla Murray on draft night had walked up to the podium when he was interviewed and said, "Thanks, Cardinals, for picking me. I'm going to Oakland to play baseball."
Right.
It would have just been chaos.
Yeah.
Now, at some point during that year, Bo Jackson did say, "Oh, I'm looking for a hobby." And so that's when football came into play. And then, of course, the Raiders took him, and they were hoping that they were going to be able to cash in on the hobby. And they did. But if you want kind of a gauge of what that was like, there still was some like, whoa, what is he doing? He's going to play baseball? There was still some of that, not quite the way it would have been had Kyler Murray. And I use Kyler Murray as an example because that's almost the exact example for going number 1 overall. The Buccaneers back in 86 are the ones that messed that up. Bo loved playing baseball, and they wanted to visit him. They flew him in on a helicopter from Auburn to Tampa. When he got back, he found out the NCAA ruled him ineligible because of the trip he had taken to Tampa, but Tampa had told him it was cleared. He was so mad at Tampa, he was like, "Forget it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play for you guys."
It's amazing.
Fortunate for Tampa.
The only other guy you might consider would be an offensive lineman, but we're stocked there, from Cy-Fair High, then Texas A&M. A guy named Cody Reisian.
Yeah.
Great career, 79 through 89,
Browns.
11 seasons with the Browns. Yeah, he went to Pro Bowl in 86 and 87.
Yep.
Good Browns teams back then. But we're going to go with Bo. No offense,
Bo.
Mr. Reisian.
Yep.
At 205th overall.
Bo Jackson 183 fills a need too.
Oh, it does. It does.
Pretty big one.
205. You got this. A guy named Eugene Daniel. And you're like, what? Well, the Colts moved from Baltimore to Indianapolis, and their first year playing in Indy was 1984. So at 205th overall, Colts take this guy from LSU, and he didn't waste any time. Started 14 games that year, picked off 6 passes.
Yep.
Spent 13 years in Indy, 198 games just for the Colts. He's third in franchise history with 35 career picks. That's a lot of picks, man.
Yep.
Played also for the Ravens in 97. Started 6 more games, picked off 3 more passes. Been kind of slim pickings. Other than that, the only guy you might consider is Pierre Garçon. But, man, I'm going to take this Eugene Daniel. You cool with that? 35 career picks, a long time in the league.
Yeah, I think we've already got Dre, still got Brandon Cooks here, Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Pierre Garçon was one heck of a receiver and from Mount Union, like everybody sees Cecil Shorts. But Eugene Daniel helps that corner, so I'm good.
Got to get better at corner, you know?
Yeah.
That's something that Lovie Smith has said.
We got 2 more?
245 and 207. So 207.
Okay.
In the 6th round. 83 men have been drafted here since 1943. 40 of them never even appeared in a game.
Wow.
None.
Wow.
Okay? So nobody played more at 207 than Antoine Bethea, a safety.
Heck yeah. Safety of the Colts. Let's do it.
14 NFL seasons. He was really good. But there was a linebacker on perhaps the greatest high school football team of all time, certainly one of the most famous high school football teams of all time. Talking about former Carter Cowboy, former Miami Hurricane Jesse Armstead. He was pretty good, man.
He was all the way down at 207.
Yeah, 9 seasons with the Giants, 30.5 sacks, 5 Pro Bowls.
I'd still go Bethea.
Still go with Bethea?
Let's go. Wait. Yeah, we got Briggs already. We need bolster safety. Let's go with Bethea. He was solid.
Bethea.
Let's
You got it. Okay, and our final.
Our Mr. Irrelevant.
Anything but, man, because listen to this. You can get some good stuff right here.
Oh, boy.
You can get some really good stuff. Because at 245, there's some interesting things. You can get a future Hall of Famer.
Ooh.
Now, you bolstered the linebacker core, but you didn't add a Hall of Famer. You could add a Hall of Famer here. A guy named Chris Hanburger.
Oh, from the Redskins.
Yeah.
Sorry. Wait,
it's like
sorry.
Pam versus Pan.
Yeah.
You know, in Step Brothers,
yeah.
it's Hanburger out of North Carolina. He was an 18th round selection in 1965 because there were 14 NFL teams back then.
Yep.
They had 20 rounds of the draft, and he wound up having a darn good career. Now, Butkus and Sayers were drafted in that draft way earlier, but He went 14 seasons with Washington. He played right linebacker. Jack Pardee was the left linebacker for a lot of that time.
Over the Hill Gang.
He was a 5-time All-Pro, 45.5 career sacks, playing linebacker, picked off 19 passes, recovered 17 fumbles. He scored 5 times on defense.
He got in as a, what the senior committee, I think, put him in to the Hall of Fame. And then you start looking at those numbers, and you're like, wait a second.
That's Hall of
How
Fame.
the heck did a senior committee? He just was always overshadowed by Pardee in Washington, but steady. He was a lot like Briggs.
Yeah.
Very steady. Did his job, maybe overshadowed by the other guy next to him, but you could go way wrong not taking a guy like Hamburger, so I like it.
So our draft is complete. Here's what we did. We took a wide receiver, a defensive tackle, a QB, a linebacker, a left tackle, a guard, a running back, a corner, a safety, and another linebacker. I mean, you got better on both sides of the ball. You got playmakers at receiver and running back.
And Hall of Famers.
You got 2 already in the Hall of Fame. Donald is going to be there. Dre is going to be there. That's 4 right there.
Yep.
I mean,
it's pretty nice.
Can't do much better than that.
It's good.
This has been our In the Lab draft. The next one of these we do, it's probably going to have to be after the draft because I'm going to be in Vegas. I don't know. Well, maybe we could do it Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see. But
We'll see.
It's coming.
Figure it out.
Hope you enjoyed this In the Lab. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.